Hello friends, welcome to UGC EPG Pathshala. My name is Swati Grover. Currently I am a visiting faculty at School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Today we are going to discuss a subject which is a very well known global subject called sustainable development and its importance. In this module, we will be covering basic concepts of sustainable development, measures of sustainable development, Agenda of 21, need for sustainability, dimensions of sustainable development, Agenda 2030 and sustainable development and its interlinkages. How do you define sustainable development? In 1987, the Brundtland Commission, Common Future, which wrote the report which coined what has become the most quoted definition of sustainable development as a development that meets the needs of a present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It focuses on two key concepts: priority to be given to the essential needs of the poor across the globe and meeting the needs of the present and the future within the framework of technology and social scenario. That means it is a way of thinking about how to simultaneously meet the present needs of people and the environment without undermining or compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. The well-known Brundtland Commission report, which titled as Our Common Future, was written about 30 years ago. It further adds, sustainable development is not a fixed state of harmony, but rather a process of change in which the exploitation of resources, the direction of investments, the orientation of technological development and institutional change are made consistent with the both future and present needs. It also states the development process is not easy or straightforward. In its final analysis, sustainable development must rest on a political will. Why sustainable development? Our planet Earth is facing many challenges, making lives difficult to live healthy. These challenges are such as pollution, land degradation, climate change, natural disasters, gender equality, poverty, unemployment, forced displacement of people, etc., affecting our environment and having adverse impact for the people to sustain in this world, thus leading the humanity to face natural resource depletion, adverse impacts of environment degradation, including desertification, land degradation, hunger, drought, freshwater scarcity and loss of biodiversity, global temperature, increases in global temperatures, sea level rise, ocean acidification and various impacts are greatest challenges of our time and its adverse impacts undermining the ability of all the countries to achieve sustainable development. Hence, to balance our economic, environmental and social needs, allowing prosperity for now and future generation. It is an integrated long-term approach to develop and achieve healthy community by jointly addressing economic, environmental and social issues while avoiding the overcome consumption of key natural resources. Now let us see what factors are needed to achieve sustainable development. Sustainable development is a process of unfolding human potential for meaningful participation in economic, social, cultural process and institutions so that mankind can improve their conditions of better lifestyle and well-being. In order to address various concerns, following factors need to be considered to achieve sustainable development. Let us look at the first factor, ecological and biophysical factors. A systematic use of domestic and global natural capital of the biodiversity where economic vitality depends on basic ecological services such as renewable and non-renewable resources, waste absorption and stable climate conditions. Second factor are psychological factors which deals with well-being of human race critically depends on the lower order needs to be recognized significantly. Not only does poverty alleviation ensures the satisfaction of basic psychological needs, it constitutes a prerequisite for the attainment of the higher order needs necessary for a balanced and a healthy human existence. Now let's come to the third economic factor. Natural capital maintenance is required to ensure ecological sustainability so as to human made capital remain intact. Once its accumulation reaches a sufficient quantity, the human made capital stock must also be equitably distributed in order to maximize and efficiently produce both the benefits it yields and reduce the thorough output required to keep it intact. Now let us come to the fourth factor, which is deals with social, cultural needs. So critical social cultural factors are to be found in a society's institution. It is only through a culturally defined institutional framework society's moral capital facilitates mutually advantageous exchange between buyers and sellers of qualitative nature. A socially sustainable system must achieve fair distribution and opportunity among all persons with adequate provision to social service such as healthy and education and gender equity. Now, going further ahead on the basics of sustainable development, let us see what are the measures for sustainable development. Technology, let us look at one by one. First is the technology. Adopting appropriate technology that is eco-friendly, resource efficient and culturally suitable, involving local resources and labor, cost effective and producing less waste. That means the technology should be more efficient and producing less waste. And now we come to the second measure is reduce, reuse, recycle approach. Advocating the 3R approach, minimizing resource use, using them again and again instead of passing it on to the waste stream, and recycling the materials goes a long way in achieving the goals of sustainability. Promoting environmental education and awareness. This is the third measure which we need to look into it. Educating the masses and bringing awareness about the environment, starting a curriculum of environment in schools to inculcate among the students the belongingness about the importance of the earth and the environment we live in. Awareness at village level is also important. Now, resource utilization as per carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is a system that can sustain limited number of organisms on a long term basis. Thus, sustainability depends on the carrying capacity of any system like that. If it is overexploited, the environmental degradation starts and continues till it reaches a point of no return. Improving quality of life, including social, cultural and economic dimensions. Development should not focus on one segment of the society, it should be balance between rich and poor. It should be conserve the tribal, ethnic, cultural heritage of any civilization. Now coming the agenda 21, which was laid down during 1992 when during the Earth Summit, when around 178 national governments adopted the non-binding program of action which was known as Agenda 21. Lacking the force of international law, this Agenda 21 carries a strong moral obligation to ensure implementation of the strategies. As per the UN document from United Nations Division for Sustainable Development, this agenda comprises of 40 chapters arranged in 4 sections, which addresses all levels of social organization from national and local governments through developmental agencies to non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations in every area in which human activity impacts upon the environment. Each chapter describes a program area and comprises 4 parts: the basis for action, objectives, activities and means of implementation. These objectives and actions are as follow. Section 1 comprises of social and economic dimensions concerned, which promotes sustainability development through trade, combating poverty, changing consumption patterns, demographic dynamics and sustainability, protecting and promoting human health. Section 2 is conservation of and management of resources for developmental concern. Here it considers combating deforestation, managing fragile ecosystems, combating desertification and drought, managing fragile sustainable mountain development, promoting sustainable agriculture and rural development, conservation of biological diversity, environmentally sound management of biotechnology, protection of the quality and supplies of fresh water resources, environmental sound management of hazard waste, solid waste and sewage related issues and radioactive waste. Section 3. Section 3 comprises of strengthening the role of major groups. These groups includes women, children and youth, indigenous people, non-governmental organizations, local authorities, business and industry, scientific and technological community. Section 4 of Agenda 21 comprises of means of implementation examines the basic resources necessary to push forward this global partnership for sustainable development. It includes financial resources and mechanisms to be adopted, transfer of environmentally sound technology, science for sustainable development, promoting education, public awareness and training, national mechanisms and international cooperation for capacity building in developing countries, information for decision making. So, after undergoing these 4 sections, an in-depth of human knowledge residing as a major repositories in different religious teachings, medieval philosophies and traditional beliefs besides modern science reveals that good living has an important component of the civilizations gone by. Thus, understanding and achieving the concept of sustainable world depends on the strengthening the logical coherency of overcoming the influence of institutional and group interest as a prerequisite. Now, coming to the further moving ahead into the concepts, let us understand the pillars of sustainable development. As very well quoted by Mahatma Gandhi, earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Our mother earth is our common home where survival and development are possible without the environment. Limited environmental resources and technological advances with ever growing human needs, our planet earth cannot be made bigger and richer to meet our demands and supplies. Hoping the developments happening around the globe should form a long-term sustaining using our resources wisely, carefully and responsibly for our future generations to live a very comfortable life. Sustainability not only focuses on the fine line of our needs and about the environment, it also talks about the society ensuring that no humankind or the areas of life suffer as a result of environmental legislation. Sustainability is an approach of understanding ecological relationships that banks on integrating different societies. Economy and environment are the 3 pillars of the sustainability. These pillars are interdependent and mutually reinforcing on each other. It is an integrative framework addressing the recognition of ecological limits, the urgency of overcoming the survival problem and the social necessity of equity. Sustainability definition as quoted in 1987 under the Brundtland Commission by United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development, development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own demands. So, we are going back to the first definition which we discussed in the beginning. Now, To acknowledge this definition, sustainability issues can be classified into three major categories such as social or political, economic and environmental issues. This is also known as a flexibility approach. The diagram of the flexibility approach has been discussed in the e-text, where where the mobility to modify the growth trajectories with respect to environmental challenges, human needs and technological advancements has been necessitated the importance of sustainable development in today's world. So, now further talking about the different dimensions of sustainable development, we have the dimensions can be divided into three categories. The basic functions of the environment is first is the environmental sustainability, where the basic functions of the environment is to as wisely use of resources, minimizing the facilities impact by operating efficiently and responsibly, thus reducing the adverse impact of the products in use. It assures that the protection of environment and the renewable of natural resources by the means to increase the capacity and bring value to the environment. Economic sustainability. The concept of sustainability here focuses mainly on the living environment, that is the local, global, natural and non-renewable sources, which are necessary for well-being without compromising the quality of life. Now coming to the next dimension of sustainability is social sustainability. The ability to give assurance for the welfare of the masses such as security, health, education and equitably distributing it among the social classes and gender. It also entails the capacity of the different social stakeholders to interact efficiently, aiming towards the same global and encouraged by the close interaction of the institutions at all levels. Now coming to the 3 E's balance rules. Now what is this 3 E's balance rules? Let us see. Aiming for the reduction in consumption of the environment and natural resources to a perpetually affordable level while maintaining social cohesion and economic output potential. Sustainability here is the action-oriented variant of the sustainable development. This is based on the principle of sustainability, that is protecting the natural environment, human and ecological health, thinking long-term, driving innovations and understanding the system where we live and recognizing limits, practicing fairness, embracing creativity and not compromising on our standard way of life. However, the pursuit of sustainable development depends here on the capacity of governance to ensure a complete interaction among the economy, society and environment. Now moving ahead on the sustainable development as a subject, Agenda 2030, which was formulated in September 2015, has been adopted by 193 member nations of the United Nations as an action plan for the next 15 years. What are we going to achieve in the next 15 years has been laid out in the Agenda 2030. For achieving better future for the people, environment and a planet Earth to eradicate extreme poverty, fight inequality and justice, tackle climate changes and protect our planet. 17 sustainable development goals and 169 targets were enforced officially based on this Agenda 2030 on 1st January 2016. Now let us see what are the different sustainable development goals and their interlinkages. The 3 basic interlinkages that strengthen this cohesiveness can be used as a filter to assess the completeness and robustness of the future goals and targets that are going to be the indicators in in these sustainable development goals. The basic point over here is to understand these sustainable development goals address not to leave no one behind and providing the dignity of life to all, creating and ensuring sustainable opportunities such as livelihoods, basic standards of living, social and environmental protection for those who are affected by extreme poverty and chronic unemployment, by lack of access to services such as water, sanitation and energy, markets, health, education, shelter, by racial discrimination, by lack of law and unable to live in a clean and healthy environment. Making this as the focus of the future sustainable development agenda, we need affordable solutions for a breakthrough the poverty trap, assuring basic livelihoods without further degrading the environment, thus simultaneously increasing employment opportunities, upscaling the provision of basic services such as fostering better use of science and technology, traditional knowledge, protecting environment through innovative and green technologies available. Coming to the next point, understanding to achieve greater prosperity in an inclusive manner within the capacity of the earth's life support system, such as future prosperity requires that economic growth no longer degrades the environment for continued well-being of humanity, smooth functioning of the economy, managing natural resources as well as the protection of social and cultural heritage. We need to move towards the universal transition of inclusive green economy and sustainable consumption and production. Sustainable consumption is not necessarily about consuming less, but about how we are consuming better to live sustainably intelligent and environmentally safe way. It can yield a variety of interlinked economic, social, health benefits and civil society. Empowerment also. Improved and wise use of global life support system is needed in order to check reversing of the development gains, not crossing the ecological and social thresholds. Coming to the next point, to increase the capital achievement, greater resilience and secure future generations' livelihoods. Here, sustaining long-term development and improvement capacity of our planet from present degrading state requires efficient investment in natural, social and economic infrastructure capital of any nation. Thus, enlarging our life support system in order to achieve living aspirations of leaving no one behind, achieving greater well-being, prosperity of all and securing everybody's future in the forthcoming generations. Managing effectively the disruptive changes along with achieving human resilience to social, economic and environmental shocks will enhance not only our ability to adaptation, but also to manage the natural resources that can be the drivers for promoting peace and economic well-being. However, the targets and the indicators in achieving the above should be scientifically reliable, verifiable and measurable based on the best available information and evidences. Now, let us see where does India stand along with sustainable development. India has been booming with growth and sustainable development has become a very important for India now. India aims to its commitment towards social progress, accelerated economic growth, increased environmental conservation by fulfilling policies and programs. One of the other ways in which India has shown its increased commitment towards sustainable development is through its growing participation in various international agreements. Seeing to this, India committed itself to achieving all the sustainable development goals from the 1990s, when it started embedding the sustainable development program in its planning and policies. In 1991, the country faced with the severe economic crisis, and to whose response the broad economic reforms program was put into place, such as these programs were such as agriculture productivity and profitability, which also includes input variation, input provision, irrigation, drought protection, price policy, credit and insurance. Then the other agenda was poverty eradication program, which included self-employment, wage employment, food safety and social security. The ninth 5-year plan, which between 1997 to 2002, was explicitly recognized as the synergy between the environment, health and development goals. It was identified as one of the core objectives for ensuring that the need for environmental sustainability for the development process through participation of people and social mobilization at all levels in India. In 1991, during the industrial policy statement was established, a sound policy framework was developed to encourage entrepreneurship through investment in research and development, increasing the competitiveness for benefit of the common man. Financial sector reforms that were initiated in the 1990s sought to create an efficient, productive, profitable financial sector, providing an operational and functional autonomy to institutions and promoting financial stability to the system. In 2006, the National Environment Policy was formulated as a key policy document that laid down the foundation principles for sustainable development. Further going ahead, India has been active in all the international forums related to environmental protection and has consented to almost all the major multilateral environmental agreements and has established domestic policies and legislations in align to these international programs that are founding their base in India today. So, today India is one among the 193 UN member states that has adopted sustainable development goals and committed to 2030 agenda as a stakeholder for sustainable development. This means that all the sustainable development goals, all the 17 sustainable development goals will be part of the national planning and development programs in India, and the same will be monitored and evaluated both at the local, state and regional and the national level. To conclude now, I would like to quote with our Prime Minister's, Mr. Narendra Modi's quote, which he had quoted during the UN summit for adoption of post 2015 development agenda, where he reaffirmed India's commitment by saying, today's much of India's development agenda is mirrored in the sustainable development goals. Thank you.